Hi again. What you are looking at is my working radio art sculpture. This is the fourth video on a one-tube 1625 regeneration radio receiver. I would like to thank Mike Peebles for his 386 audio amplifier kit. Also Dave for his all-wave 1625 radio schematic. Third is my son-in-law, Dr. Paul Titchener of Power Technology, for his DFX audio enhancer. Their website links are included with this video. Now let's go on up and let's get into a regenerative switch right here and bring up some sound. Now you can hear a buzz in the background. We're going to get that out in a minute. Here's the antenna coming in. Now we've got some good audio, but you can hear the background noise is not good. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to first come up here and see if I can get anything out this way. Okay, that's pretty good. Now this switch changes coils, and you see this changes programs. And this switch changes coils, and you get different programs. Now, let's go down here and take this filter and flip the filter in now.
Both teams went 14-2. They're not intimidated by the crowd.
There. Now, hear how clear that is? Okay.
Well, how many times has that happened?
Let's go into here and just pick up a couple radio stations.
You're exactly right. These guys are getting away from it.
In other words, you could say it this way. Jesus did everything the law said.
Okay. Now let's go over to shortwave right now. And let's bring this to around 40. That's where my station should be. Now let's bring it into a better... Here it's coming back in. This is this is my trimmer here. Now let's hear. We should get radio. Anyway, this is my volume. Here it is. Okay, let's climb back off here. Let's go up to the switch up here now. And I'm going to flip this over. Okay, now we're going to go into our audio. Let's go into this area right here. Come right up on it real close if you can. Okay.
0 to 60 in 1.9 seconds.
Obviously, you got to take the suspension and everything and modify it, I'm sure.
Yeah, so it's a fairly...
Now let's go back.
Its policy instead of publicly issuing a legal complaint.
That all may be true. I couldn't care less. What?
No solamente rara, pero tomamos techniques to painting, watercolor, and acrylics.
Okay, I'm going to turn the volume down now. And we're going to just explain what we've got here. This changes the coils, so you get frequency and band changes. This is a variable capacitor. This is my antenna trimmer. This is a variable capacitor that I'm using to change my frequencies. This is just a tube that's lit up for decoration only. It's a transmission tube. It comes way back out of the 19th century. I doubt if it ever worked in modern day. And it goes up and the power comes down through here and up there. Up here is a band changing switch, a regeneration switch, another amplification switch, and of course you can see part of the circuitry for the 1625 tube. And somebody said one time, how do I know that tube is doing the work? Well, let's just do something here. See if we can bring up, let's change. There it is. Okay, let's turn everything back down again so we don't get all this hum. Okay. This is the volume control. That was the tuning. Band. This is the off-on switch for the unit. You can turn it off or on. This is a 12 volt. These are the phones or the speaker coming in from that Atwater speaker. This is the ground and the antenna. And this is the 9 volt, and that's for this little audio amplifier down here. And when I hooked it up to 12 volts, I was getting too much AC hum. So I took it and put it into its own power supply. Anyway, this is the whole sculpture, and I would like to thank you very much for watching. And this will be, I think, the last video on it. So again, thanks a lot. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.